let's talk, we'll make it to the top. Encourage each other and we won't stop. Together we'll lift his name. Girl, let's talk. Girl, let's talk, cause God gives us grace. Tell your truth, there's no need for shame. Together we'll lift his name. Girl, let's talk. Girl, let's talk, we'll make it to the top. Encourage each other and we won't stop. Together we'll lift his name. Girl, let's talk. Come let us know what God has brought you through. Together we'll make it to the top. With the help of the Lord. Girl, let's talk. Girl, let's talk. Girl, let's talk.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first Girl Let's Talk Today show. All right. Yes, I am so excited to be with you all on tonight or today, whenever you're watching this video. Please remember to not only watch this video all the way through, but please leave a comment, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe, okay? Well, tonight, I am so excited to have one of my closest friends to come on tonight and share her powerful testimony with us. Tonight, we have Minister Deontra Lewis in the house. In the house.
Amen.
And not only is she one of my closest friends, she's also a member of the GLT team,
Yes.
the Girl Let's Talk team. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
You definitely had to be. She's in the Girl Let's Talk. This is the third time interviewing.
Yes.
And she had to be the first. So let's get going. So glad to see you on tonight. Most people maybe know you that's going to be watching. Some people don't know who you are. So can you just kind of introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who Deontra is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. First off, my name is Deontra Lewis. I am a minister. I'm a minister at St. Mary's Baptist Church. I am happily married and I have multiple kids. And of course, one has passed on. So I am a nurse and I love what I do and I love taking care of others. So that's just a brief about me.
It's such a blessing.
Yes.
You said so much, but it had so many stories and so many testimonies behind everything that you mentioned.
Yes.
Every single thing that you mentioned. You did mention that you have one of your children that passed away.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes. That's a topic that I didn't used to want to talk about.
Right.
But it's a healing process. So my son passed away in 2020 of October. He was shot and he didn't make it through the recovery. He didn't make it after 3 weeks. So that's a sum up of him passing away, not going all the way into detail, but he passed.
Right.
Amen.
Right. In the midst of that situation, it's something that you have shared with me and shared with many people that have heard your testimony, that I would like for you to encourage other parents that maybe have experienced the same thing, the loss of a child, and want them to know the experience that you had in those moments before he transitioned. God gave you a gift or a jewel from him. Can you kind of explain the occurrence, what took place in that moment?
Yes. And I can't explain that moment without explaining the very beginning part of it.
Right.
So first off, I want to go back to the day that I got the call. That so I got a call from one of my cousins saying that, Darius was shot. Once I got that call, I'm running through the house because at this time that's a call that no parent wants to hear. So I'm running through the house. I still to this day don't remember if I had two shoes on, if they matched or what. My everything in me was just racing. So I was trying to get to where he was as fast as I could. Tim, my husband, now he drove me to the hospital. Once we arrived to the hospital, we went into, this little waiting area, a little small room. And the doctor came in and told me that, well, we don't know what's going on with him. It's a touch go. He died twice. and we had to cut his chest open to manually pump his heart back. At that moment, I just went blank because I couldn't be in there to help him. It was nothing that I could do. So I remember leaving out of the waiting room, and I went and I prayed. And I said, God, it could be my life.
Right.
If you just save his.
Yeah, yeah.
And I kept praying that prayer and I kept praying it. And before I knew it, I went out. I fainted. I passed out. Because it was an overload. It was an overload of everything that was going on. And in the midst of all of that, my family was there. And I thank God for that because I had some type of support.
Right.
So once we got back and they said, you know what? He's stable. He's stable. But we have to put him on life support because it's a touch and touch.
Right.
It's touch and touch.
Yeah.
So who would want to get a phone call to where your son was shot and it's absolutely nothing that the mother can do but call on God?
Yes,
and I thank God for even being in my life.
Right.
Because if he wasn't in my life at that time,
right.
who was I going to call on?
Right.
Because he's a very present help in a time of trouble.
Yes, he is.
And I was in trouble.
Yeah.
My baby was in trouble.
Right, right.
So I called on the Lord. And in the midst of me calling on him, we were able to go into the room and we were able to see him. And he was hooked up to all these machines. Everything. He was hooked up to a kidney machine dialysis. So a dialysis machine. He had, just he didn't know he was here. So everything he was just hooked up to, and all we could do was go in there, and I was still crying. I was still calling on the Lord, and I said, God, if this is what you're going to do, let him be able to tell me what's going on.
Right, right.
And they said, well, we're not going to be able to take him off of life support. Mm-hmm. He's just going to be on life support. He's a vegetable. He's not going to be able to do anything. But the power of God.
Come on.
The power of God. Because when doctors say one thing, God say another.
He will.
And even in that moment, I still had to trust God. And I said, well, God, I'm going to leave, but I'm going to trust you that he'll be able to talk to me. And I'm going to have the doctors pull him off life support. And I told him, I said, just take him off life support. Whatever he want to say, I want him to say it to me. They said, no, we're not going to be able to take him off life support. He's not going to live. He's not going to make it. And I said, I need him off life support. They took him off life support. And the first word he said was, mama, 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 I'm okay. And I was like, Darius, you're talking to me. You're okay? And in my head, I'm like, no. But in his head, he's trying to comfort me this whole time. And I was like, he said, Mama, I'm okay. I'm okay, Mama. Don't go do nothing crazy. Mama, don't go do nothing crazy. I said, no, I'm a trust in God. But I was angry.
Right, yeah.
I was mad. Yeah. I was upset. If anybody knew Darius, he'll try to help anybody. So why would somebody want to shoot my child?
Right.
Why would they from the back? So I said, okay, Darius. So the doctors came into the room and they said, well, he doesn't have any blood flow to his lower extremities. And I said, okay, break that down to me. What does that mean?
Right.
And he said, well, his legs are dying. I said, his legs are dying. Please tell me what that means. What are the options? What can we do? And I said, Darius, if you're fighting, your mama fighting with you.
Right.
I said, God is fighting. I said, we all fighting. Yeah. I said, God, whatever your will is for Darius' life at this point, this is just what it is. Yeah. I don't have no control.
Right.
So doctor said, we're going to have to amputate his legs. And I asked Darius, because he was able to talk to him. I said, Darius, what do you want to do? I said, this is your life. What do you want to do? He said, Mama, do whatever you feel that needs to be done to save my life. Right. That's what he said to me. And I cried about it for about a couple of days. And I went back and I told the doctor, I said, well, because his legs kept climbing. Yeah. So it kept dying from his toes on. So we had to amputate his legs. So, and I really don't, It's a process, just like serving God. It's a process. Well, losing someone, it's a process.
Yes, right.
So in the hospital, it was a process that we both went through
Right.
in the hospital. So I was like, okay, Darius, we're gonna go ahead and cut your legs. So cut the legs. I left. I didn't know. So I went back the next day, and when I pulled the cover down, it was like I like passed out, you know, because I did not imagine.
Right. Right.
Seeing my son with no legs.
Yeah.
So that was something that God had to get me through.
Yeah, God.
Before He took them. So when you lose someone, you can lose a limb, you can lose a relationship, you can lose a friendship, you can lose. It's still a loss.
It's a loss.
So we went through the loss of losing limbs.
Yes.
His legs first. And he said, Mama, it's all right. Mama. He kept saying, Mama, it's all right. It's all right. And I thank God for the power that He gave him to comfort his own mother.
Yes.
Because I was lost.
You know what you needed.
I needed it.
Yeah.
I needed it. So to fast forward it, because we went through a whole lot in there. To fast forward it, we got to a point to where, you know, he had a wound vac because his intestines was dying. Right. So every other day they would go in and do this procedure to check his intestines. So they didn't completely close it because they wanted to see, was it dying? What could they do? Was the blood flow going there? So the one particular day I went back up there, well, Darius called me. He said, Mom, can you come up here? How fast can you come? And I said, well, you know, your granny was coming today. He said, no, Mom, I want you to come. So Darius was in his right mind when the doctor said that he wasn't going to be, that he wasn't going to remember nothing. He couldn't do nothing or anything. He remembered my phone number, and I didn't leave it by the bedside.
Right.
He remembered to call his mama. He knew his mama's number, no matter what. So he dialed my number and said, Mama, how fast can you get up here? This is a power of God when everything in your body is yet dying, but God is still yet giving life. He's speaking life. So he spoke to his blood. He spoke to the bones. He spoke to everything in his brain. He spoke to it. And he was able to sit up there and just call his mom. And I said, Lord, I thank you for the opportunity, because he could have died alone. But he was able to call his mom. God gave him that to be able when the doctor said he couldn't. So in the midst of that, he called me and he said, how fast can you get there? I hit that highway and I don't know how fast I was going, but I was gone to get to my baby. So when I got there and he just looked at me, as soon as I walked in the room, God spoke and said, it's time. I'm in the corner and I'm looking, I said, God, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm over here saying, God, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. You remember this talk we had that I'll go before him. Right. If he needs something, take it from me. Right. Like whatever it is, I will lay my life down for my child. So God, remember this conversation. Remember what we talked about. God was dealing with me in the room. He said the same thing you saying. Your son is laying there saying the same thing. I go before my mom. Spare my mom. My siblings need her. Spare her. I said, God, he can't be saying that. He said he's saying the same thing. It's time. It's time. And I'm in a whole corner. And I mean going in before I could even, and I'm just like, Lord, I'm not ready. I'm just not ready. I'm not ready. But when will you, how can you ever be ready to accept the fact that it's time for your son to go? And you never see him again. So I looked at him and they said, we're finna take him down for surgery. That was the last surgery. So they took him down and it was something strange that happened. It was like they took him down. I ain't see his name anymore. So I'm going to the people and I was like, hey, I don't see his name. What's going on? So I started panicking. So I went back upstairs and I was like, what's going on with him? Like, where is his name? Where is he at? But they was transferring him back into the bed or whatever. And they said, well, we call your siblings up. And I was like, well, what are you calling them for? But before they could even do the explaining or whatever, they were coming through the door. So my brother and my sister came through the door and they said, well, we just want to let you know that he's not going to make it. And when they said that, I broke. God already told me it was time, but I'm still human.
All right.
I mean, I still have feelings.
What do you
This
do?
still my baby.
Yes.
So I still hurt. I
Mm.
still bleed.
Right.
I still cry.
Come on.
I still do all of that because
Yeah.
I'm yet human. Even though I know who God
Who
is
God
and had a
is.
relationship
Right.
and
Right.
still yet have one,
Right.
I still yet hurt.
Right.
I'm
Right.
human.
You're human. Yet
Human.
human. A woman of God.
Still hurt.
Right.
Human.
Yes.
But I still trust God.
Yes.
I didn't get mad at him.
Right.
I said, God, I'm just not ready.
Yes. Right.
So in the midst of all of that, they called in the room and he was hooked back up to all of these tubes, everything. He was still yet hooked up to it. And when he heard me cry, now you tell me if this is not the power of God. When he heard his mama cry, he pulled all them tubes out. He pulled everything out of his mouth. He pulled it. Let me tell you though, he couldn't move nothing because he was already starting to transition.
Right.
So where did the strength of him grabbing his arm come up to pull all of this that all of this is in him, and he pulled it out because he was trying to comfort his mother.
Right.
So all the doctors come running off into the room and they said, no, we have to. I said, Darius, just let him put it back in. And let me call so your baby could come up here. And let me get the siblings back up here. Let me get some people up here. So just hold on. Right. Just hold on. So everybody, they end up coming up there, and I wanted him to be able to hear his baby. And I just, all of this around the room. And I said, okay, God already told me it was time. And he clearly wanted to say something to his mom. Right. And so I told the doctors, I said, well, let's take him back off the life support. They said, well, we're not going to put him back on it. And we're not going to do all that. And I said, again, this is his decision. This is his life. Right. And we're going to take him off of the life support. So as soon as they took him off the life support, mind you, he was already transitioning. Yeah. And his immediate words was, Mama, stop it. I'm okay. It's time. And he turned his head over like this, and he went to sleep. Peacefully. He just went to sleep. But I'm still human. I still hurt.
Did you get comfort from him? He told you that what he saw or what he had experienced.
And he did tell me, he said, Mom, God is real. I seen his face. He said, Mom, God is real. I seen him. I seen his face. I said, what did you see? Darius, what all did you see? I'm trying to get. He said, Mom, I can't tell you all
Can't tell you that.
And he kept telling me, Mom, I can't tell you that. Because, in the Bible, biblical terms, if you seen God and you seen his face, it was tough for you to go on. Yeah. So he was still yet trying to protect his mom. Like, Mom, I can't tell you all that, Mom. It ain't time for you to go.
Right.
Like, Mom, I can't tell you. I just want you to
that
know.
You got to go with me.
Yes,
right.
You got to go with me. He said, Mom, all I can tell you is that God is real. I seen his face. And he also told me, he said, I seen my granddaddy. He said, Mom, I see Uncle Lord. He said, Mom, I also seen this man that was kind of light skinned and he was gray hair. Mom, they were just right there waiting on me. I said, waiting for what? Like, where are you going? He said, Mom, they was right there waiting. I said, wow, really? So sometimes you wonder if your other loved one made it over, but he called their name out. Right. If they waiting over here on the other side, then they made it over. So granddaddy made it over. Yeah. Uncle made it over. Come on. So who is this other person that made it over? Yes, I thank God for even giving a witness just so we could know that they made it over. So all our work is not in vain.
It's not in vain.
It's not in vain. So we there God. Right before the end and praying them through, and you wonder, did they make it through? They made it over. Yes. So Darius was able to tell me that he seen them, and this was well before he told me to come, before he left over. He was just so excited, like, Mom, wow, God is real.
That's beautiful.
God is real. So,
that's beautiful.
Yes.
That's such a blessing that God allowed you to experience that. Yes. So many people lose and they don't get that opportunity to have those moments. But because someone out there that may be listening may not have got a chance to have that moment, just know that your praying, your fasting, and your teachings and everything like that is not in vain. So I'm so grateful for that testimony. It's so powerful. And you know, the process of going on, and then you realize the gains and the way that God has blessed you. Is there anything that you could say to anybody out there that may be listening to give them hope beyond the loss, a hope beyond the grief, hope to encourage somebody of how good God yet is?
Yes. Some things that I can say about losing a loved one, and losing a loved one is just not losing. It's just not losing a child or losing a relationship, but just a loss. Period. Is to trust God through the process. It's to trust the process. A lot of times we don't trust. Maybe because our faith in God is weak,
Right.
or maybe we haven't spent enough time with God. But if you spend a little more time with God and you just trust Him and you lean to Him and not your own understanding, God will see you through.
Oh yes,
He will definitely see you through. You may not feel it right then, but over time, you'll notice and you'll know that God was there. I woke up the next day because God allowed me to wake up, even though I may have woke up with tears and pain, but God allowed me not to take my own life, or God allowed me to be in my right mind. God allowed me just to get up and even be clothed, and that you don't take lightly, because when you're hurt and you're down and you lose someone, you lose the ability to want to clean, to want to clean yourself up, to clean the house, or just even to do simple things like that. But if you hold on and you don't give up and you trust God, that will be my words to give, because God is the only person that seen me through. It was Him.
It was God.
It was Him.
I love that. It was God. And I thank God for seeing you through. You're an excellent mother. Always have been. You have some beautiful, beautiful children, beautiful grandbabies. And I am so grateful to be your friend. We friends.
We friends.
Friends. Been long time friends. You know, and we loving it. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for always being that wonderful guest for the Girl Let's Talk Today show. Today. I gotta remember that one. But you are such a blessing to me, and I know that this testimony is gonna be a blessing to some of you. So please go ahead and subscribe, like the video, leave a comment down below. If you are in this situation and you desire prayer, or if you want to share your story or your testimony, get in touch with me at girlletstalktoday@gmail.com, and we can get you on the show. You can be able to tell your testimony as well. Thank you so much for sharing with me. Y'all have a wonderful day. Check. Thank you for tuning in to the Girl Let's Talk show.